Hi, I'm Chris Ramsey. I'm head of coaching and technical director for Queen's Park Rangers, and I'm here to answer questions for Ask the Coach. My coaching journey is quite vast, actually. I started off basically taking my first prelim badge at 21, and then I didn't coach till I was 28, 29. When I moved to Malta, I became the player coach for a team called Nashar, which is a great time, great learning experience for me out there. Fortunately, we did quite well out there, and I came back to England to do my full badge. Did my full badge, got through that, and then I did football in the community while I started. Funny enough, at Queen's Park Rangers, believe it or not, just by luck, I met Andy Evans on my coaching badge, and he asked me to come and do some work there. So, in those early days, I worked at Brentford, Orient, Wimbledon, all doing football in the community. And during that time, I learned probably the most I've learned about coaching, with the variation. I went from there. Well, during that time, I started working at Leighton Orient, and I fortunate enough worked with Paul Brush, where we worked together, dealing with the young players. I became his assistant with the youth team, and then I took over as head of player development while I was at uni. I had a full-time uni course I was doing at the same time. I also worked in women's football for a team called Newham Ladies. Did that for three days a week, and on a Sunday afternoon after the Centre of Excellence games. So that was, quite an important part of the journey, learning how to deal with different types of players and different levels of communication. And the women's football actually did teach me about just working, obviously, with a different gender and how you deal with the issues that happen there, because we suffered a lot of homophobia in that at that time, because there was a lot of players who had partners in the team. So that was really interesting. But what happened then was the FA came and headhunted me from Orient, and I became the regional director for London and the South East, which in them days there were only 5 coaches, regional directors in the country, and I was fortunate enough to have one of those jobs, dealing with all the clubs in London and all the clubs from Ipswich, Norwich, Reading, all those clubs. So in those days, you used to do the CPD for the clubs, and it was very testing and trying time, and a steep learning curve, because I was Howard Wilkinson's assistant with England, with the England under-18s, and I was fortunate enough to work with most of the England teams. Ended up becoming the head coach for the under-20s, which was a massive milestone in those days, because there were no black coaches in those days. So I was the first male one, apart from Hope Powell, who's actually one of my heroes. We worked at the FA together. So that was a massive milestone for me, not only from a coaching point of view, but from a door opening point of view for other coaches. After working at the FA, where I did a lot of coach education, and I helped write the fitness badge, because before there was sports scientists with clubs. The FA had written a fitness award, of which I was one of the authors. So in order to work at a club, you needed that, and then obviously things have moved on from there. I went to Tottenham, worked with John McDermott, influencing the whole philosophy at the club and changing everything from how we train to how we recruit. The regime before had been there 25 years. They'd done a good job, but some things come to an end. Tim Sherwood and Les Ferdinand came in, and to be fair, Les has been a massive catalyst in my career because he persuaded me not to leave the club when I thought that I wanted to run my own ship. You get to that point in your life and in your age where you actually want to do your own thing. And we used to talk a lot, and him and myself ended up taking over the reserves, where Clive Allen had vacated that position to work with Harry. And what we did was Tim ended up becoming the technical coordinator, and I moved from working with John on a daily basis to working with Tim with the development squad. Development squad was laden with talent then, and that had been a testament to the recruitment that we'd done in the academy and the recruitment that was evident in the development squad. So myself, Les, and Tim worked with that squad for 3 years. Probably one of the best coaching times of my life as regards the enjoyment of it. Having worked with John and Alex Singlethorpe in the academy earlier, I knew a lot of the players. So we could not only refer to Tim and Les, I could refer to them. They would be involved in discussions. And, I could see that Tim and Les had such wisdom and knowledge to offer with their experience and where they'd come from. And they were learning their badges at the time. So I was able to mentor them through their badges, which was brilliant for me as well. And eventually we ended up taking over the first team, which was, during that time I'd seen 5 or 6 managers come through. So you learn a lot from the good things that they do and the mistakes that they make. You learn a lot from that. And that was a brilliant time. The QPR situation has been an outstanding one for my career. So I came in as head of player development, but within 3 months, I came in November, and by February I was the interim manager. Harry Redknapp had moved on, which was absolutely fortunate for me because you never know when you're going to be thrust into that situation. It was a difficult time, but I was blessed that I did have an opportunity to work as a manager in the Premier League and in the Championship. But since then, when I left the job as a first team manager, the club asked me, Les particularly persuaded me to return to developing players, and the owners showed a lot of trust in me as regards wanting me to return to that job. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but sometimes you have to swallow your pride. You have to show a bit of resilience, and realise that you're not bigger than the game, and you need the game. The game doesn't need you, really. I went back as a technical director and the academy manager. After that, the head of coaching, Simon Ireland, who was one of my assistants when I did the first team, he got a fantastic opportunity to go to Nottingham Forest as the assistant manager, and he went. So the club asked me to absorb the job. So I passed the academy manager's role on to Alex Carroll, who was miles better than me at that job. So that's how I got the head of coaching title. And then what happened was one of the assistant coaches for the first team left and went to Middlesbrough as their assistant manager. So the club asked me to absorb that job as well. So that's why my unique role has formed as regards as being head of coaching, where I work with the first team and I work with the academy, which I don't think worldwide there's a role similar to that, where you can work and help the first team in the morning and then work with the under-9s in the evening. So I probably got the best job you can get in football. I think they do need to, not every position. We work on a pyramid basis, and we have a part of the pyramid is movement experimentation, where players do experience different positions. But I think that if you keep on changing position all the time, you never really learn or hone in on a position. I think as you get older, you need to start honing in on parts of the pitch that you're better suited. I think that in the beginning, most players should experience different parts of the pitch. But I think as you get older, you do need to hone in where you're going to be an expert. When myself, Les and Tim did the development squad at Tottenham, Danny Rose was the winger in those days. And they persuaded him to play as a left back, and the rest is history. So there's a few examples of that. To a point, I think they do, because I think we're not so that they get too deep with it, but I think they do then get an idea of what it's like to coach. They get an idea of what the coach has to go through when they're telling them things. Because a lot of the times you put a session on and players go, oh, what are we doing this for? Why are we doing this? So I think to be able to self-coach is important, and to realise why you do things, and also for you to critique things in your own manner, because sometimes you're not getting what you want out of a session or out of a period of the season, and you may be able to actually critique it yourself. No, win more games. Not really. I mean, I think if you go in and you can look back and say, right, I felt I was capable of doing the job. I think I did an all right job not an all right job. I think I did an adequate job for the situation that we were in. Lots of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, which is always something that people comment on, but they don't know. One or two, obviously, tactical decisions and picking teams situations. I look back and think, I could have probably done better, but I think every single manager does that. Every time you lose a game, you think you can change. So no, I wouldn't change anything drastically about what I did. I thought the training was right. I thought the way we tried to play was right. Probably one thing that glares for me is that I dropped Grant Hall when he was playing very, very well, and we bought a player from Watford called Angela, who didn't really do very well, but I felt under pressure to play him, even though I wasn't under pressure. Nobody told me to play him. And I think that didn't really bode well with the rest of the team, because obviously Grant was playing well and he was dropped. So they're looking at their own positions thinking, well, if he can be dropped playing that well, what is it going to be like for me? But apart from that, no, I wouldn't have changed much. I think we set the teams out properly. And the club was going through a very difficult period, and I've seen other managers that are more worthy than me go through the same problem. So not really. It's easy to look back and say, well, I got the sack, so I should have done this and I should have done that. No, I felt I was capable, and I felt I did the job to the best of my ability. It was unbelievable. I'm working with two legends of the club as well, Tim and Les. I thought to myself, if you're looking at the games against Benfica and Dnipro and some of the games that we played against the big teams, and how we set the teams out and how they played, the reaction of the players, the whole thing for me was a highlight. I couldn't really pick one thing out, really. I think just to have the ability to coach players at that level and the opportunity to coach players at that level, I think was just a major highlight for me in general. It wasn't daunting at all, because if you know Les and you know Tim, they're very confident people, and we felt we had the ability to coach the first team based on the people that we'd seen coaching the first team. I'm not saying that they weren't good, but we felt that we were equal to them in our abilities. I don't think we looked at it as a daunting task. We looked at it as a task that we were equal to, and I think that we proved that we were. So no, we didn't really worry about whether we were capable. It was just obviously when you're looking at a big club like that, in any other club, what we did and where we came would have been acceptable. But when you're looking at a club at that level that wanted to move to that next point, they have to make a decision that they think's best for them. But we didn't look at it as a daunting task. We looked at it as a task that we wanted to embrace. You know, such a big, famous club. I actually didn't realise the size of the club until I came back from America and was working there. I didn't realise what an institution it was. For me personally, none, because I'd already been a first team coach in Malta and in America. So because I've got low profile, I've not high profile in football. I've always been flip-flopping. I've always been coaching adults and coaching young players. So for me personally, I mean, this is my 42nd year in football, and in coaching it's probably, I started when I was 28, so I'm 58, so 30 years of coaching. So if you look at that, most people would see me as a development coach, but I've actually, I think 10 or 12 years of my career has been coaching first team players. So I don't really find it difficult going from one to the other. But I can understand why people would find it difficult from going one to the other. So I call it credible flexibility. So you have to have credibility in both arenas. As long as you stick to your coaching principles, then the difference is your presence. So do people believe what you're telling them? Have you got the confidence to realise that you're the coach and they're the player? And no matter how famous they are, they're still players. They don't know as much about football as you. So no, I haven't really found it that difficult. For me personally, none, apart from the fact, which is age specific, isn't it? So you're coaching someone at the top end of the pyramid, whereas depends where. The principles of the coaching are the same, but you have to realise where the player's at, and then you coach them from there. We call it the zone of proximal development. In our academy, we work to Vysotsky's theory. So you got to realise where the player's at, and then you coach them from there. So I believe that a lot of first team players don't want to be coached that much. They think that they're finished, but my approach to it is always age and capability specific. So I keep to my principles, and I don't worry too much about who the player is. It depends what your desired result is. So first and foremost, when you're dealing at the bottom of the pyramid, you've got to realise that they have a low attention span, and the enjoyment is the most important. So first of all, you have to give them a sense of freedom to be able to express themselves, and you have to also identify why you signed the players. What's their strengths? Why have you signed them? So if you sign them because they're good dribblers, make sure that they do what they like doing, and you try and improve why you've signed that player. Now, I'd be probably appalled if you signed them for squeezing up the back line. So most of the time, players in under nines need to work on things that they feel that is only for them. When they're young, they're very egocentric. So you have to give them plenty of touches on the ball. You have to make sure that they're always engaged, and you have to have a variety in what you do. So that's how I would say to you. Have a variety in what you do. Be consistent though. Don't change things all the time. Have 3 or 4 things that they enjoy doing and do those things most of the time. Learn how to teach. So I'm a qualified primary school teacher. So one of the things about teaching, when especially you teach it in the foundation, it's like teaching in the infants. So learn how to teach and how to actually break things down. Learn to quickly understand the capabilities of a player. So you're not always teaching them things that they can do too easily. That'd be my advice. Learn how to teach. Learn what infuses players, and also don't be in a hurry to get to that first team. Hopefully, at QPR, to finish the project that we've set and Les has put into place. Hopefully at QPR, I'd like to see my future there. But if it wasn't at QPR, hopefully doing what I'm doing for a federation or a country or something like that. But one of the things about being in the game for a long time, you realise that you can't always predict your future. And the fact that I'm able to work with the under-9s and work with first-team players means I've got quite a wide scope of dropping into different jobs. Which is one of the advice I would give to a lot of coaches. Make sure that you're versatile, because unless you've got a big profile and you're going to drop from coaching a Premier League team into a Championship team and back to a Premier League and League One, unless you've got that profile that allows you to get those jobs, you're going to have to work in different jobs for different people. So your versatility is what is very important, which is what I've tried to make myself versatile to be able to, you know, if I was out of a job tomorrow and an under-18s job came up, would I be able to do it? Probably. If a first-team job came up, would I be able to do it? Probably. You know, it depends. So I see my future as if I can stay in the game till I retire, till I can go another 6 or 7 years in the game. That gives me 50 years in the game. Then I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that. But I'd hopefully see my future at QPR. But who knows?